sinister presence drew Lily's attention like a magnet. She slowly turned her head, her heart pounding violently in her chest. There, standing over Alina, was a woman dressed in a sleek leather jacket and commanding attire. Her sharp pencil heel dug into Alina's bloodied, battered body, and with deliberate cruelty, she pressed down harder, her eyes glinting with sadistic pleasure. The pointed heel sank deeper into Alina's stomach. Ah, nuo. Alina's scream echoed through the cold night. Ah! Her voice trembled under the weight of unbearable pain as her open wounds were torn again by the merciless heel. Lily's heart dropped into the pit of her stomach. "Leave her," she muttered through clenched teeth. But the woman seemed unaffected by Lily's words. Every breath Lily took felt as if it were being ripped from her chest. Her love, her Alina, the woman she had sworn to protect, was suffering before her eyes, and all she could do was watch. The darkness around them felt suffocating, closing in from all sides. She was frozen, unable to move. Lily clenched her fists so tightly that her nails dug into her own skin. Tears flooded her eyes, not because she was in pain herself, but because the person who meant everything to her lay drenched in blood, crying in agony. And standing before them was a dark enigma, leading them toward their doom. Lily glared at the demonic figure towering over Alina, her blood boiling with a rage she had never known before. But the moment her eyes met the woman's, cold, twisted, and filled with cruel delight, her anger wavered. It was replaced by a suffocating fear. The woman's smirk widened as she pressed down harder. "Nuo," Alina cried in pain. And the woman reveled in the torment she was inflicting. Lily could barely breathe. The sight of Alina's suffering was suffocating her. Tears streamed down her face as her body trembled uncontrollably. With every cry that escaped Alina's lips, it felt as though Lily's heart was being torn apart. She reached out desperately, her entire body screaming at her to move, to do something, anything. But her hands were bound, and her legs were restrained by guards who stood like lifeless statues, blocking every possible path of escape. It was a nightmare brought to life, and Lily was trapped inside it, helpless and shattered. Her eyes never left Alina as the woman twisted her heel deeper, forcing Alina to writhe in unbearable agony. The sharp, piercing cries cut through Lily's very soul. Each time Elena gasped for breath, it felt as though the air had been stolen from Lily's own lungs. Lily's fists clenched in fury as she struggled to control the urge to break free and tear the woman apart. Every part of her screamed for action, for justice, but she was trapped. Her gaze remained fixed on Alina's suffering as she whispered through gritted teeth. "Who are you, and why are you doing this?" The woman, reveling in her dominance over Alina's broken body, slowly lifted her gaze toward Lily. Her eyes locked onto her with a chilling, sinister intensity that sent shivers down Lily's spine. Then, in a voice dripping with malice, she declared, "I am your death." The words struck Lily like a brutal slap across the face. The woman's smirk widened as she slowly nodded. "Yes, I am your death." With deliberate steps, she removed her heel from Alina and began walking toward Lily, an aura of dark authority surrounding her. Her gaze roamed over Lily from head to toe, studying her with cold calculation. The intensity of that stare made Lily deeply uncomfortable. Suddenly, the woman stepped closer and grabbed Lily by her hair. "Ugh." Her grip was mercilessly strong, and Lily cried out in pain as her head was yanked backward. Hearing Lily's cries, a half-conscious Alina felt goosebumps rise on her skin. Her pupils shifted weakly, and in a reflex born of love and instinct, she tried to move her hand toward her fiancé. But the poor woman didn't even have enough strength left to utter a single word. As the woman loomed over her, Lily locked eyes with those piercing, merciless orbs. There was something disturbingly familiar about them, a sinister glint that clawed at the edges of her memory. Despite the throbbing pain in her body, a haunting sense of déjà vu washed over her like icy water. Her heart pounded as the air around her seemed to grow heavier, suffocating, while the woman's cruel smirk deepened. Lily's breath hitched. She squeezed her eyes shut, forcing her mind to dive into the dark corners of her past. Pressing her fingers against her temples, she struggled to remember where she had seen those eyes before. And then, like lightning tearing through a storm, the memory struck. She was thrown back to a moment she had long tried to bury, a time when she had stood just like this, trembling under the gaze of another ruthless figure. The same aura of dominance, the same suffocating dread. Her chest tightened as the face of the infamous Spider, the merciless Mafia lord who had once hunted her, resurfaced in her mind. Those eyes. They were his eyes. Lily's eyes flew open, wide with terror and realization. A cold shiver ran down her spine, her body going rigid as the words slipped from her trembling lips, almost involuntarily. Spider. Her voice was barely audible, yet it carried the full weight of her horror. The woman standing before her smirked, as if she had been waiting for this exact moment. "You impress me, Lily," she murmured, brushing her index finger slowly along Lily's jawline. Suddenly, her hand shot to Lily's neck, gripping it tightly and jerking her forward. "He was my father," she spat, her voice shaking with suppressed rage. Tears glistened in her eyes, not of weakness, but of pain and vengeance. Lily felt goosebumps rise across her skin as everything slowly began to make sense. The pieces were falling into place, yet acceptance still felt distant. She looked at the woman with questioning, unsettled eyes. The woman hissed and released her grip on Lily. Taking a few steps back, she spread her arms wide in a display of dominance and declared, "I am Spider's daughter, Catherine. Catherine Dukes. Catherine Spider Duke." Lily's blood ran cold at the name. Spider, the infamous Mafia leader who had once tried to capture her, who had attempted to break her and assert his twisted dominance months ago, the man whose name had haunted her nightmares. And now, his daughter stood before her, ready to finish what her father had started. Catherine smirked, satisfaction washing over her as she took in Lily's pale, fear-stricken face. An evil grin spread across her lips as she stepped back, her heels clicking sharply against the ground while she turned toward Alina. Lily's heart began pounding wildly, panic clawing at her chest. "No, wait, you," she whispered desperately as Catherine approached the half-conscious Alina. Lily tried to lunge forward, to reach her. But the guards held her firmly in place. She could do nothing but watch as Catherine closed the distance. Without warning, Catherine lifted her foot and delivered a brutal kick to Alina's stomach. "No-woo." Tears streamed down Lily's face as she struggled with all her strength to break free and reach Alina. Alina gasped in agony. Her body convulsed violently from the impact. Catherine then crouched down and grabbed Alina by the hair, yanking her head up and forcing her to meet her gaze. Alina's face was smeared with fresh blood, her eyelids barely able to stay open. Through blurred vision, she too felt a flicker of recognition. She had seen those eyes before. "Do you remember what my father said?" Catherine asked, her voice cold and merciless. Lily stood frozen, numb with horror, as Catherine remained beside Alina and continued. "He said, I know I was a bad man, and my end was meant to be like this. But you're not innocent either, Alina. And just remember, the way I am dying in agony today, you and your love will also die the same way, writhing in pain." Catherine ground her teeth, staring at the two of them with pure hatred. "You both," she spat. She snapped her fingers twice. "Start the countdown to their deaths." Leave." A faint whisper came from the corner, catching Catherine's attention. She turned her head and realized Alina was trying to say something. Catherine smirked. Look at poor Alina. Oops. I mean the so-called evil queen. You don't even have enough strength to speak properly." With deliberate dominance, she walked toward Alina and crouched near her. "Yes, Alina, speak. I am sitting here just to listen to you. But speak quickly, You and your so-called love don't have much time left." Alina placed her trembling right hand on the ground, and gathering every ounce of strength she had, pushed herself upward. A painful cry escaped her lips as she struggled. "Elena, no," Lily cried in distress. But Alina did not stop. Summoning the last of her energy, she forced herself to stand and steadied herself in front of Catherine. For a brief second, Catherine was taken aback. Despite being severely wounded, Alina still carried herself with dignity and strength, but Catherine quickly masked her surprise. I was the one who killed Spider," Alina said weakly. She pointed toward Lily. She has nothing to do with it. Do whatever you want with me, but please leave her." Her voice was low, trembling and exhausted. "Are you begging?" Catherine replied mockingly. With a swift movement, she stood up and placed her right foot in front of Alina. "Then beg properly." Lily, who had been witnessing everything, looked at Alina with tear-filled eyes. Her blood boiled as she watched Catherine and her cruel antics. "Alina, no, please don't bow down in front of her, please," Lily begged. Alina turned to look at Lily. Her eyes were brimming with tears, yet she managed to give her a weak, trembling smile. Then, slowly, she lowered her head in front of Catherine. With shaking hands, she bent down and held Catherine's feet. "No, Alina," Lily cried out, unable to bear the sight of her queen bowing before such a demonic presence. Catherine glanced at Lily with an evil smirk before shifting her gaze back to Alina. Please let her go," Alina begged weakly. "Do whatever you want to do to me, but let her leave this place, please." Catherine burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha, Alina, I can't even describe the amount of peace I'm feeling right now." Her expression suddenly hardened with hatred as she grabbed Alina by the hair. "You had a choice too when you stood in front of my father, but what did you do? You killed him mercilessly." Her grip tightened. "To be honest, I feel like tearing your so-called love into pieces and feeding her to the dogs, but no, my plan is different." She leaned closer, her voice dripping with cruelty. "You two claim to be two bodies and one soul, don't you? So now I will take both your lives together. And don't worry, even after death, I won't separate you. I'll bury you side by side." She tilted her head slightly. "Isn't that a beautiful plan, babe?" Alina's face turned pale as she stared at Catherine, her breaths shallow and uneven. You're not human," she whispered, the words barely escaping her lips. Catherine let out a dark chuckle. "I'm worse than human." She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "I am the legacy of pain and death, and you, both of you, are going to die." Catherine stood up, towering over Alina, her eyes gleaming with malice. "Enough talking," she said coldly. "It's time for some gameplay. I'm going to leave you two in a cave 5 kilometers from here. It's just past midnight, and in a few hours, I'll kill you both. My men have surrounded the cave. There's no escape. And when the time comes when I kill you, you'll know it's because you killed my father." Catherine grabbed Alina by the hair and forced her to stand on her feet. "Ah!" Alina cried out as the movement tore at her fresh wounds, sending waves of pain through her fragile body. Without mercy, Catherine dragged her toward the car and shoved her inside. She then ordered her guards to put Lily into another vehicle. Moments later, the convoy began moving toward the isolated cave, where Catherine had planned to write the final, twisted chapter of Alina and Lily. When the cars entered the cave, the interior was illuminated by wooden torches mounted along the rocky walls, their flames flickering wildly and casting monstrous shadows across the jagged stone. The center of the cave appeared empty, but Catherine's men were stationed at every exit and hidden corner. The security was airtight, not even a fly could escape. Catherine's lips curled into a sinister smirk as she dragged Alina out of the car and threw her violently onto the ground. The heavy thud of her fall echoed through the hollow cave. Alina groaned, struggling to push herself up, as Catherine's heels crunched against the gravel, slow, deliberate, predatory steps. Meanwhile, Lily, still restrained by Catherine's men, thrashed desperately against their grip. With a simple nod, Catherine signaled her men to release her. The moment she was free, Lily ran toward Alina, her eyes locked on her wounded love. But before she could reach her, Catherine stepped in front of her like a barrier and grabbed Lily tightly by the arm, stopping her in her tracks. "Hold on, Lily. Why are you in such a hurry?" Catherine said mockingly. "Don't worry, I've given you the whole night with her, your last night together." She leaned closer, her tone turning cold and threatening. "But remember, don't you dare try to act smart here. Otherwise, you'll be given a death 1,000 times worse. And of course, you wouldn't want me to hurt Alina in front of your eyes, would you? You're smart enough to understand, so don't even try to use that brain of yours here." Catherine tapped Lily's shoulder before walking away. Lily stood there silently, her head bowed, fists clenched so tightly her knuckles turned white, tears continuously streaming down her face. Catherine turned her back on them and walked off, her laughter echoing through the cave long after she disappeared. Soon, silence settled once again. Now only Alina and Lily remained in the center of the dimly lit cave. Lily collapsed to her knees beside Alina. With trembling hands, she gently cupped her blood-soaked face. Alina, completely drained of energy, rested her head weakly against Lily's shoulder. Lily wrapped her arms around her protectively, holding her close, softly patting her back as if trying to shield her from the entire world. After a moment, Lily slowly pulled away from the embrace. Her heart shattered at the sight of Alina's battered face. Her hands trembled as she tore strips from the edge of her sari, the only thing she could use to help. With infinite care, she wiped away the blood and dirt from Alina's face. The fabric absorbed the stains of violence as Lily worked gently, afraid even her touch might cause more pain. Tears streamed endlessly down her cheeks, falling silently as her breaths came in broken, uneven gasps. Every wound she touched felt like a blade cutting into her own soul. "I don't want to lose you," she whispered, her voice thick with anguish, unsure whether Alina could even hear her. Alina's half-lidded eyes, heavy with exhaustion, remained fixed on Lily. She had no strength left to speak, but the faint glimmer in her gaze was enough, a silent reassurance, a love stronger than pain, stronger than fear. Lily continued tending to her gently, her tears flowing as though she could wash away the horror with nothing but her love. Alina, bloodied and barely conscious, turned toward Lily with pleading eyes. Her voice was weak and trembling. "Please leave me. Don't let them do this to you. You don't deserve this. I can't let you suffer because of me." Lily stared at her in shock. What did you just say?" she asked, her brows furrowing with hurt and anger. Alina looked into Lily's broken eyes and gently held her hands. "Lily, please, please leave this place. I don't want to lose you because of me. Just go, please." Lily slowly pulled her hands away and stared at her intensely. "There is no because of you. Everything that is happening here is because of us. If Spider hadn't tried to kidnap me, and before that, if I had listened to you and hadn't left the mansion like that, none of this would have happened. So if we really look at it, it's all because of me. So now you go. You leave," Lily said in frustration. "Lily, this is not the time for jokes," Alina replied painfully. "You can see my condition. I don't even have the strength to walk 5 steps from here. Please, please try to understand. Just run from here." "And what about you?" Lily shot back. "Should I leave you here alone in this state?" "What other option do we have?" Alina whispered weakly. "You saw her. That woman wants our blood. As long as I'm here, I won't let anything happen to you. Please, Lily, go." Lily swallowed hard and raised her hand, showing the engagement ring Alina had placed on her finger just hours ago. "Do you see this?" she said softly. "This ring was given to me by someone who has loved me more than anything or anyone in this world. She loves me in a way I don't even know how to love myself. And she has proven it not once, not twice, but countless times. Before a single scratch could reach me, she has always stood in front of me like a wall." Her voice began to shake. "But what have I given her in return? What did I give back for all that trust?" Her posture weakened as tears streamed down her face. "Only betrayal." As those words echoed in Alina's ears, she immediately responded. "Enough, SHHH." She gently rubbed Lily's back, realizing how far the conversation had gone. That is the past, Lily. Don't bring it here. It's gone. And I don't hold anything against you." "But I do," Lily whispered brokenly. "I hold everything in my heart. Your efforts, your love, they are like a blessing to me. You have stood by me in every single moment since the day we met." Lily rested her forehead against Alina's, their breaths mingling. "I took an oath to spend my entire life with you, and if destiny demands an end, then so be it. But I am not going to leave you, not even if death is standing right in front of us. You think this would be a tragic ending? Maybe. But to me, if this is the end, then it's the most beautiful one because my last breaths would be taken in the presence of my love. What more could I possibly want?" Alina's eyes streamed continuously with tears as she listened. Her trembling hands slowly rose to cup Lily's face. Their foreheads were still touching as she whispered softly, "You know, I have expected love from everyone in my life, even from my own parents. But in that matter, I was always unlucky." Her voice cracked. "But when I met you, my life changed completely, in every way possible. I never asked for much. I just wanted a simple, peaceful life with you. I didn't want this mafia world, this power, this darkness. I didn't want any of it. Lily, I only wanted to live the rest of my life in peace with you." She squeezed her eyes shut in devastation and slowly pulled back. "I love you, please, please leave. I beg you." Elena olded her hands in front of Lily, tears falling endlessly. "I saw my parents die in front of my eyes, and even today I blame myself for it. Please, don't give me another reason to blame myself. Please, Lily, go. Your whole life is still ahead of you. And anyway, this world needs police officers like you, not so-called mafias like me." With that, Alina finally poured out everything that had been buried inside her. Lily let out a small chuckle and said, "Tell me one single human being you've killed who was innocent and truly good. And don't you dare bring up that intern doctor. I know he was a spy for a gang." She placed her palm gently on Alina's head and ran her fingers through her hair. "You didn't deserve a life like this, Alina, but your circumstances left you no choice. You haven't taken the life of any innocent person, whereas I killed Claire just because anyway. You want me to leave, right?" Lily asked, looking directly into Alina's eyes. A broken Alina just nodded silently. "Okay, I will. But answer me one question, and you mustn't lie, I swear. If I were in your position, would you have left me to die?" Lily asked, her face serious and steady. Elena looked at Lily, pausing for a few long moments before finally bowing her head in a silent no. Lily gave a weak smile and pulled Elena into a bone-crushing embrace. "SHHH, enough of this game. Even if death is coming, let's face it with bravery. Don't worry, Alina, even after we're gone, no one will ever touch you. Not even some other witch," she added, attempting a joke to lighten the heavy atmosphere. Alina hugged her back as tightly and desperately as she could. Lily's joke didn't reach her. She continued to cry uncontrollably. Lily didn't say anything more. She just patted Alina's back, trying to prevent further arguments and to preserve the precious last moments they had together. Time passed. After a while, Alina fell asleep, burying her face in Lily's chest. Lily, still awake, watched her lovingly and pressed a secure, gentle kiss onto her forehead. Hours passed. Sunlight streamed through the tiny openings in the broken cave ceiling, gently waking the pair from their brief, peaceful rest. Lily opened her eyes and carefully held Alina close, adjusting her so she could settle comfortably without feeling any pain. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed through the cave. Someone was approaching quickly. Alina swallowed hard in fear as the two of them stood, trembling. "Please, please, Lily, there's still time. Take the back way," she whispered. But before Alina could continue, Lily placed her index finger gently on her lips. "Enough, Alina. No power in this universe can separate me from you. If this is the end, then let it be," Lily said. She drew closer to Alina, closing her eyes as tears streamed from the corners. Slowly, she pressed her lips to Alina, kissing her with all the love in her heart. They were lost in the depth of their love, paying no attention to the dark presence approaching from behind. Catherine Spider-Duke stood behind them, watching them lost in their final kiss. Alina's back was to Catherine, while Lily faced her slightly. If they had stood differently, Catherine could have made direct eye contact, but Lily avoided looking at her. Catherine smirked and drew her sword. If this is how you want to meet your end, fine. I will grant the last wishes of my prey, she announced, fury blazing in her eyes. Then she let out a roar of rage, ah, and charged toward them. Startled, Alina jerked her eyes open and pushed Lily with all her strength. Lily lost her balance and fell to the corner of the cave. Turning to face Catherine, Alina tried to fight, but the demon caught her hand and forced it back, the sword slashing through the air. Blood splattered across the ground and walls. Nuwuwu, Elena, Lily screamed in shock and horror.